There are few places left in the world that still conjure up romantic images in the explorer's mind. Timbuktu, Machu Picchu, Stoke-on-Trent.
What if the YouTuber who made millions fall in love with forgotten towns and hidden cultures wasn't the man he appeared to be? Bald and Bankrupt built his fame on raw adventure, but beneath the charm lies a past few know about. In this video, the side of Benjamin Rich that rarely comes to light will finally be revealed. When Bald and Bankrupt first appeared on YouTube, the channel felt like a breath of fresh air. Instead of glossy beaches and curated city tours, viewers were drawn into crumbling Soviet blocs, forgotten railway stations, and bustling Indian bazaars. Benjamin Rich, the man behind the name, traveled with little more than a camera, a bold sense of humor, and an openness that seemed to break down barriers wherever he went. For many, his work represented the raw spirit of adventure, spontaneous, unpolished, and deeply human. But as with so many stories that unfold online, the shine did not last without questions. Whispers began to circulate, threads emerged on Reddit, and fragments of his past surfaced in obscure corners of the internet. What began as admiration slowly gave way to doubt, and the question rose quietly in the background. How well can anyone truly know the person behind a camera? One of the first unsettling discoveries was his presence on old pickup artist forums. In archived posts, his words were unsettlingly blunt. Descriptions of exploiting economic inequality, using local women as intermediaries, and treating communities as opportunities for sexual conquest. Phrases from those forums painted a picture far removed from the cheerful traveler who laughed over cups of tea with grandmothers in Belarus. Suddenly, the same charm that drew in millions of viewers seemed laced with something darker. Here's an uncomfortable reality to reflect upon. Can a man be both a warm storyteller and a manipulator of circumstances? For some, the answer was obvious. The allegations confirmed a suspicion that the generosity in his videos was more performance than sincerity. Viewers who once celebrated his openness began to see it instead as a tactic, a way of slipping into places where a camera didn't belong. Each smile or a shared toast now carried a shadow. Yet for others, the line was less clear. There remains a loyal base of fans who argue that the content still holds value. His videos introduce people to forgotten places, voices, and stories rarely shown in mainstream media. Through his lens, neglected towns felt alive again. And so another question emerges. Is it possible to separate the art from the artist, or are they inextricably bound? This tension isn't unique to Bald and Bankrupt. History is full of creators whose personal lives complicate the enjoyment of their work. But travel vlogging carries a special intimacy, an invitation to join someone on their journey, to share meals and conversations through a screen. When trust is broken in that space, it feels personal, even if no direct harm touched the viewer. The discussion becomes more than gossip. It becomes a reflection on how audiences consume stories. The rise and fall of Bald and Bankrupt illustrate a wider truth. Storytelling online is as much about perception as it is about reality. And yet, the discomfort lingers. Watching old videos now feels different. The footage hasn't changed. The friendly exchanges in dusty streets, laughter over homemade meals, genuine warmth from strangers. But the lens has changed. Awareness reshapes the experience, forcing viewers to wonder whether kindness was spontaneous or carefully cultivated for entertainment. This is where the reflection deepens. Perhaps the real exposure here is not simply about Benjamin Rich, but about the fragile relationship between creators and audiences. Every time a viewer presses play, they are investing trust. That trust, once broken, cannot be easily restored. So what comes next for Bald and Bankrupt? For now, the channel still draws millions, but the cracks in his image are no longer hidden. Some viewers continue to embrace his adventures, while others quietly step away. What's certain is that the internet rarely forgets. As more questions surface and more conversations unfold, the real journey may not be through the towns he films, but through the shadows of his own past. And maybe that is the truest takeaway. The exposure of Bald and Bankrupt is not a single revelation, but an ongoing dialogue. It forces the question back onto the audience. When a storyteller's shadow comes into view, what matters more, the beauty of the story or the flaws of the one telling it? In the end, the real exposure may not be about him at all, but about the way we choose to see and what we choose to believe when the truth finally comes into focus. Let us know your views in the comments.